you're on a turn, you're gonna hit second gear and floor it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It was at this moment he knew. He f***ed up.
What's going on, guys, and welcome back to DriveHub. This is the 2019 Dodge Challenger Scat Pack TA, and simply put, it's a bright green monster with almost 500 horsepower thanks to its massive 6.4 liter, 392 cubic inch V8. And it has no problem exclaiming that it's one of the fastest cars on the block. The Dodge Challenger is a modern muscle car with a model to fit any driver's personality and budget. From the V6 powered SXT and GT models to the 840 horsepower supercharged V8 powered Demon, whose supercharger alone has only 1 less liter of capacity than the entire V6 model's engine, and requires a third of the V6 engine's horsepower just to spin it. So what if you don't want to die? Not yet anyways. But you want to come damn close at sometimes. I want to die! And you don't want to dish out some serious cash. The Scat Pack TA is probably your best bet then, as it offers the most horsepower on the market for an MSRP of under 40 grand. And a big special thanks to my friend Car Guy 1999 Reviews for allowing us to do a review on his 2019 Scat Pack Challenger. I'll include links down below in the description so you can check out his Instagram and his YouTube channel. Be sure to check him out and subscribe. But I have my boater's license, we have the oar, we have life vests. Let's do it. All right, guys, so we're in the Challenger Scat Pack. I'm here with Jacob from Car Guy 1999 Reviews, and we're about to take this Scat Pack for a drive. Let's do it. Be nice to Jacob. This is his first time with the camera on his face.
It is.
Ridiculous is the only word. Effortless power. It's everywhere.
Absolutely. Because I think peak torque's down around 2,000 or 3,000 RPM.
And even so, it still likes to be revved out. It likes to be It likes to be spun. It's usually with big V8s and stuff, you know, it's just low revs, you know.
Peak
As
power
you said,
at 6,250.
bring it up to 6,500 RPM, and I mean, you're
The sound it makes above 5K is awesome.
Yeah. Get above 5K.
Oh, 5K in third gear's like arrest me speeds.
Jeez. It likes third gear.
Oh, it loves third gear.
So this has 485 horsepower from the factory and 475 foot-pounds of torque.
Correct. So that's the most underestimated claim. So Dodge tests these in the harshest conditions, so that way every single car will make those numbers. This specific car has the built-in performance data recorder, and it allows me to view my horsepower and torque, and I've seen about 510 horsepower and a little under 500 foot-pounds of torque.
Which is awesome, because I remember I follow someone on Instagram that has a Hellcat, I believe it's a Charger, and they were on a straightaway, and that's when the Hellcat was rated at, it was a regular Hellcat, 707 horsepower, yep. And their performance data was reading 730 foot-pound, I mean, I'm sorry, 730 horsepower.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, you're obviously getting way more than they said, but that's true. I remember hearing about them testing these in the absolute harshest conditions so that they got the worst power readings that they could.
Right.
They do it in the wicked hot. They did it in the desert or something.
I believe so. I believe it was out in Nevada in the desert.
Yeah.
And also they there's no power difference between the normal Scat Pack and the TA when the TA comes with a cold air intake. And those of you that know a lot about cars or anything really, you'll realize the cold air intake does add a bit more power, but they didn't advertise that. I'm not exactly sure why they did that.
Yeah.
But I would assume that might be part of the reason why this car makes more power than advertised.
Yeah, I mean, just driving it around right now, you can feel, I mean, it feels like it has well over 480 horsepower. There's no doubt about that. This thing absolutely screams.
Absolutely.
Especially for, what's it weigh, 4,200 pounds?
40. It's closer, I think, to 4,500 now. 2.25 tons.
2.25 tons. Well, I mean,
just say 2 tons at that point.
Yeah. And driving it around, you really wouldn't realize it.
It's crazy.
I've heard that about the Demon and stuff too. Everyone's like, you know, oh, it's just a straight line car, but when you put this thing into a corner, it grips.
Especially with the different drive modes, when you have the street steering, sport steering, and track steering. It basically allows you more feel through the wheel.
Yeah, you can definitely feel. I felt a huge difference when I was driving and didn't realize I wasn't in track mode. And then you put it into track and you can feel it. It's a big difference, and I'm a big fan of the heavier steering, you know. Some of those like the BMW 4 Series, not the M4, but its steering was so light and so, it was twitchy almost, and I really didn't like it, because at high speeds and stuff too, you got to be constantly playing with the wheel.
Absolutely.
With this one, when you're going around a corner and stuff, you can feel it.
That's why I never drive this car in street mode. I really haven't driven it much, because the steering just gets so light that it just becomes very artificial feeling, and it's just not as rewarding to drive.
And because this is the TA, it does have different suspension, right?
Correct.
So it's got Bilstein all around, Bilstein shocks. It sits lower than the regular RT, and you can tell just from looking at it.
Absolutely. So it's a bit of a firmer suspension, but what I like about it is it's not a lot to beat you up. This is my one and only car. This is my daily driver, and I've never had an instance other than some decent sized potholes where it's been really, really uncomfortable.
We're in New Hampshire, there's no avoiding that.
No, there really isn't.
And
we have 2 seasons, winter and road work.
You're gonna be really into it this winter when he's daily driving this in the snow. That's gonna be fun.
This isn't going away in a garage for a winter. I bought it to drive it, and that's what I'm gonna do.
The minute you point this thing into a corner, holy crap. Now, it doesn't feel as light and nimble as a Corvette for obvious reasons. You're talking about over 1,000 pounds of weight difference there. And like I said, for a car that weighs over 2 tons, it's really not, it's not pulling me to one direction. It's doing a real good job of perfectly hugging the road.
That's what surprised me most when I test drove one. It's just, you know, there's always the stereotype of being a boat, but it handles just perfectly fine for what I need.
Yeah, I mean, that's funny. I love to, you know, play the fact that people call these boats. I mean, I'm in my Hawaiian shirt because I figured we'd be going on the boat today. But with all honesty, you throw it into a corner and you completely put your foot in your mouth, because you just don't realize it handles corners well. I mean,
really does. And that's also helped by the fact that this also has the Dynamics package, which comes with 275 section tires on all 4 corners, as well as the 6-piston Brembo brakes up front and 4-piston calipers in the rear.
And they're touchy.
Yes.
They're touchy, to say the least. I got in this car for the first drive, and I nearly gave Jacob a concussion from him slamming his head into the dash, because it was... They're powerful. But then again, you have to have it to control this amount of weight. But
absolutely.
The whole package comes together so well with the power, the handling, the brakes. If you didn't have these brakes, some of these corners that we just went through would be a little bit, I think I'd be sitting in a puddle of my own feces at that point, because it would
puddle.
have been, some of those were some tight corners, but
on the TA, the Dynamics pack is a little over $1,000 because of the fact that the TA already comes with the the sports tuned suspension, and the TA package itself is $3,400.
one of my favorite features about these is the interior, the gauges. It just pays homage to the old gauges. They're extremely big font. They're easy to read. And like I said, they're very similar to the old gauges on the old Cudas and the old Challengers.
Right.
And the rest of the interior, I mean, it's a modern muscle car. It's got everything, every creature comfort in here that you could really hope to have. You have your heated seats, you have your cooled seats.
And that's all due to the Plus package that you can get. If you want a base model Scat Pack, which gives you the 392, and for 2019 they added the high flow performance exhaust, so you get the sound.
Yeah.
And that starts base price around high 39 and very low 40. So these are very affordable cars. And then you can get like the cloth seats, which still come heated.
Yeah.
And then with the Plus package, you can get heated, cooled, these Napa and Alcantara seats, which I think are awesome.
Well worth it, in my opinion. These
Very
are some of the
much
most
so.
comfortable. These are some of the most comfortable seats in a sports car in this segment, because I mean, especially for a bigger person. Now I'm tall, and as I found out driving the Evo RS, that I'm a little bit more wider than I expected or I had known.
Yep.
But I mean, these things, they're holding me in fantastic through these tight corners.
It's a perfect mixture between holding you in and road trip comfort.
Yeah, it really is. I could imagine spending hours and hours on end in these, perfectly comfortable. I'm sure you've done it. This does have 2 back seats in the back. It is 2, not... Is it 3?
They have 3 back there.
Okay, well, I mean, have you fit 3 people back there?
I've not fit 3. I've fit 2 6-foot people, and we went for about an hour road trip, and they didn't complain at all.
Wow.
One of the reasons I actually went with the Challenger was because of the fact that you can get a good amount of room in the back seat.
It's definitely the biggest back seat in a coupe that I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
To be completely honest,
it's because it's based pretty similar off the Charger platform. They might have shortened it by a couple of inches.
Yeah.
So pretty much it still has the rear seat room that the Charger would have, but just with 2 doors, and the fact you can get this with a manual is just adding to that. That was like my one criteria when buying this car, was had to be Scat Pack, had to be manual. I test drove the 8-speed, and it's a really good transmission. It's one of the best automatics that Fiat Chrysler America has ever produced.
Yeah. But if you're getting a car like this, it has to be this transmission. I mean, it's, as you said, the shifter is like a bolt-action sniper rifle. It's so direct, it's snappy, it's crisp.
You know exactly where you're going.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's at this great angle where it fits perfectly in your hand. It's one of the best transmissions I've ever driven, to be completely honest.
And it's a Tremec unit, and I believe that this came out of either the current generation Viper or the previous generation. I know for a fact the Hellcat is straight out of the current gen Viper.
Yeah.
But I believe this transmission is pretty close to the Vipers.
It's heavy, it makes you put it into gear, but it's not, it's not cumbersome. It's not like, I gotta shift again. You gotta prepare your arm,
It's more rewarding than anything.
And the nice thing about this being a modern car is all the electronic features you get. Now, sometimes I upon that stuff because it's too much, but in something like this, where it is it's a track-focused car.
It definitely is.
There's no getting around the fact of that. But it reads off information that even the regular car enthusiast would like to know at points. So, like, in there you have the data pages. What do you look at as a daily driver? What stuff are you looking at on there that's actually very usable?
So you can reconfigure the performance data to your home page. You can put all different kinds of gauges. So what I did was I put my coolant temperature, I put my oil temperature, that way I know when it's up to temp.
Yep.
I put my intake temperature so I can monitor how hot the car's actually getting.
Yeah.
And then just for giggles, because I had an extra gauge, I put the horsepower readout.
Yeah.
So you also have an in-car dyno, So you can have a whole dyno graph, and that measures to the crank. That's how I was able to tell how much horsepower the car was making.
Yeah.
You have voltometers, you have engine torque you can view. It's a lot of different stuff, and of course you have all the timers, which is probably my favorite feature. You can enable a countdown in the dash, so you can view your reaction times as well, so you can perfect that. But I think that all goes back to the fact that the TA stands for Trans Am, and back in 1970 they used to race these on track. And if you look at photos of the original TA Challengers, that Sam Posey, I think, was the one that raced them.
Yep.
It's very, very similar. And Sublime was actually the star color of the TAs way back when. So that's why I wanted to go ahead and get the green.
That's awesome.
It's more than I need, man.
Yeah, it's
for sub 50K. I don't think you can get much better.
Yeah, I mean, this is a new car. You got a brand new car here.
Yeah. I bought it it had 90 miles on it, give or take, because I actually, the car was up in Keene, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And I bought it in Hooksett, so they drove it down. And what was funny is actually driving around one time, the reason I could get this car was the financing on the person that was buying it fell through. And I actually met the person that was going to buy this car.
Really?
Out in traffic, yeah.
Huh.
It was really kind of cool.
Unbelievable how well it does in the corners. The brakes are just there to stop you right away when you realized you f***ed up.
Yep. I've had that happen a couple times, not gonna lie.
It is insanely controllable. It's
more, for a big heavy car that's sliding like that, I'm like, oh, I don't know if
I'm kind of like putting my foot in my mouth now.
No, I've had some moments where it's gotten pretty sideways and pretty interesting. Actually, the closest call I've had is in the Boston Tunnel in the rain, like 50 degrees. So, yeah, when you floor it in second gear and it goes straight from 2,000 RPM to redline, you know you're in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing.
We're going uphill on some insanely tight corners, and it's just there. It's just...
And I love the steering feel, too.
Yeah, it's... You know exactly
even
where
when
the
front got
tires
light,
are, yeah.
It was happy. What's awesome about this is when you get to the limit, it's very progressive. It's not like, boom, it's there. You can, if you move 1 or 2 miles per hour, you can get rid of understeer, and like,
wow.
It's awesome. You can control just how much understeer you want.
But it's crazy because you're doing it in such a big car. You don't expect it. You get in this thing and you're like, uh-oh, brace yourselves, life vests on, we're going into a corner. But holy crap.
And as you drive it more and more and you get more confidence in it, you realize that it can really do what you want it to.
Yeah, I mean,
I've actually had this on track a couple times, just for some tour laps, nothing high paced. I actually had this on Club Motorsports track. I've had this at Palmer, and I've had it on Thompson once or twice. And getting into corners at a decent limit, you tend to understeer first going into a corner, and then it slowly transitions to oversteer. So it's very controllable, and it really doesn't snap you too much.
when you said it understeered at first, I honestly never expected it. I knew it, I mean, it's got a 6.4 liter Hemi under the hood, and it's not exactly, you know, sitting far back to make it handle better. They don't care about that stuff. But when you said that, I was not expecting it to, you drive it and understeer would be the last thing on your mind. Of course, oversteer, you're going to expect that. The thing is just a tail-happy monster when you take traction control and stuff off and hit it. But
with close to 500 foot-pounds of torque, you know, and these are Pirelli P0 Nero all-season tires on this one, because as I said, this is my daily driver. So I think the first storm, I'm going to see what it does with the all-season tires. If need be, and the car gets nowhere, I'm going to put some Blizzaks or something on it. We'll see how it goes. You know, next video after might be buying a new car if, you know, everything goes terribly wrong. But.
True.
You best believe that's going on in the video. Exposed. Jacob is a dancer.
Let's specify what kind of dancer, though.
It was at this moment he knew. He f***ed up.
See, I was ready for it.
But it's very controllable when it happens.
Extremely controllable. Because it's so long, you're like, okay, it is beginning to slide. Little bit of input. Oh, geez, the back end is as long as a tractor trailer. I've got this.
Oh my god.
Did I scare you?
No. Because I knew exactly what was going to happen. I'm like, you're on a turn, you're going to hit second gear and floor. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, that was fun.
No, officer, we weren't sliding.
No, not us. The other green Challenger.
The other one that says car guy.
One that keeps driving around. It says guy car.
Oh, yeah, that's it. And you can faintly hear one of the big problems with the 6-piston Brembos.
Yeah, those are race brakes. I mean,
They're race brakes. They'll squeak anytime you want.
anytime you want, so I want to make them squeak right now. They didn't do it. I'm gonna think you're lying.
Holy.
It is unbelievable.
So that's 0 to 60 in factory. It's like 4.2 seconds.
4.2 for the automatic. I myself have done it in 4.0.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, when you told me that, I was like, you know, all right, with a manual transmission and stuff, I know those are usually slower. I don't care about that, but, and when you showed me that on the performance page, that it actually got down to 4 seconds for a car that weighs this much.
On all
That's
season tires,
unbelievable.
getting a launch, because there's really not a lot of grip in the rear, so getting a launch is really tough. And that's not on a prepped surface, that's on normal asphalt. So on a prepped surface, it definitely has potential for even faster times.
Because you see this thing and you're like, there is no way that car is that fast. And then you drive it. It's unbelievable.
So you're feeling the same way I did the first time I test drove one. When I looked at them, I'm like, I will be honest, I went to look at one and I went to test drive just because I could. My first time ever driving one was, I know somebody at Bonneville & Son, they let me take it out real quick, and I've always loved the looks of Challengers. I've never really been a huge muscle car guy, so I'm like, oh, it's not going to be rewarding to drive.
Yeah.
But you can experience this just as well, and
I mean, this is unbelievable.
there's something about it, how when you get it right and when you do everything perfect and the stars align and it gets you down that back road where it's just so rewarding.
Now, one thing you'll notice as I had my head forward and looking out, the visibility. It's
Yeah. It's non-existent in some spots. The
I mean,
worst
you're
is
not
the rear
lying.
3/4. So if you were to look, so say you were to check your blind spot right now,
I don't. Just kidding.
that's why I'm glad this has the blind spot monitoring, because you can hide, as regular car reviews said, you can hide like a school district in there. Actually, I think that was Doug DeMuro that said that when he drove the Hellcat.
I mean, it literally is huge.
Absolutely. That's one of the downsides to daily driving something like this, is while the car looks excellent and visibility is not half bad for what it is,
Yeah.
it's little tiny spots like that where you take for granted your ability to see out the rear 3/4 of your car. So sometimes in traffic in Boston on the highway, it gets a little gets a little hairy, but
everywhere else, I mean, outside the windshield, it's big. It's not, you know, wickedly sloped. That's not a word. It's not wicked sloped. That's still not, doesn't sound right.
Wickedly sloped, that was right.
Wickedly sloped. You can see everything. You see the nice edges of the hood scoop. Out the back, you know, it's, that back glass is very far behind you, but you can still see pretty well. That spoiler isn't even in sight from here. Another problem is the sides. Now, these rear haunches on this thing are huge.
Absolutely.
And when you're backing up, it is...
it's bad.
If you don't have a backup camera, it's difficult, and you have to really be on your game, because I honestly have no idea where the back of this car is right now.
I've owned it for almost 4 months, and I still am kind of iffy on it. This car is very big, and one thing that's really kind of cool is no matter how low you have the seat, you will always see the hood. In some cars, you cannot see the hood unless you raise the seat really high up. No matter what you do, you will see the hood.
Wow.
Because I normally drive decently close to the wheel, kind of a performance drive setting with the seat all the way down, and I see the entirety of the hood.
Yeah, that's the real only issue I have is you just don't know where the back of that car is.
And I think that's also not helped by the fact that these side mirrors are kind of small.
They are. For the size of the car, they are tiny now that you mention it.
That's one of those things where as I've driven it more, I've realized just how kind of small they are. Another big upside of this car is people don't really know how affordable they are for lease payments. I got this for $350 a month. That's awesome.
For a 500 horsepower brand new Scat Pack Challenger, sublime green, matte black accents, 6-speed manual. Yeah, that's, I mean...
The manual is actually standard too, but you don't see many of them in the manual. I think when I was searching, I did a 500 mile search, and there was about 20 or 30.
Really?
And about 15 to 19 of those were in Virginia. In the state of New Hampshire, there was 3.
Jeez.
There's 3 Scat Pack manuals.
You lucked out with this one, because this is...
Hellcats are even more rare with the manual. I think total in the country with a manual is under 100.
Wow.
You know.
That's odd.
But I was tossed between the wide body and this car. And I was going to get the wide body, and that one was down in Virginia as a dealer demo. But actually, I'm going to be making a video on my channel sometime going through my entire process of buying this car, because it was about a week long that it took to finally nail down this car.
Yeah. I'm going to catch up to that 914 real quick. Holy shit. Now, back to the paint. You said this is the first year they used sublime green since what year?
1970.
Since 1970.
I heard this is the first time, I believe, in North America you can get sublime green on the TA package.
I think that's awesome. That's special in and of itself.
Absolutely, and I love that Dodge maintains their original colors. I think the shades are a bit different. They might not be the exact same color.
Yeah.
But even so, you keep the original name.
Yeah.
You know, Plum Crazy, Go Mango.
Yeah. I love that about it. I love it.
It's the only muscle car that remains a muscle car.
Yeah.
Mustang is a performance car. I mean, look at what the GT Performance Pack 1 and 2 can do.
Gosh, yeah.
They're nuts.
They're, unbelievable.
And then especially the Camaro SS1LE or even the Z28s.
They're
man.
ridiculous.
I mean, if you bang shift it hard enough, you will chirp into 4th.
Jeez.
You chirped into 3rd, and I mean, that, not a lot of cars do that.
No.
Well, some high-end stuff, yes,
Yeah.
but...
You're putting enough power down to do it. I sure hope it's... Wow. You know, I love that there's heritage to this car. You know, you look at the script in the grill, it's the classic, you know, cursive writing that the Challengers of old had. I love the flip up fuel cap.
Yes.
It says fuel on it. Like, that's just little touches like that. They just make this car for me.
Absolutely.
And the fact that it's completely classic while still modern, you know, it's like having that old Challenger, but with all the features and interior amenities that you could ever hope to have.
That's actually one of the reasons I bought this car. It has all those muscle car features and performance while still having the modern ability to be daily drivable.
Yeah. I mean, you get that beautiful classic boxy body with every single, I mean, you have a giant touchscreen in here.
8.4-inch Uconnect touchscreen, and this one also has the $495 nav option.
Wow, I wish mine was that big.
Oh, nice. Maybe the base model 6-inch is more your speed.
Yeah, mine's the no screen at all, just the old radio.
It's just the buttons.
Just the buttons.
No, I think I made a good choice in buying this car.
I would absolutely say you
For
made
sub
the right
50K, I
choice.
think it's one of the best new cars you can buy.
Absolutely. I mean, it's hard to compare this thing to anything else. All right, Jacob. Well, hey, thank you so much for letting me drive this thing, man. I had an absolute blast. I mean, driving stuff like this is never not fun. I mean,
Absolutely.
Giant Hemi V8 at the front, rear-wheel drive, 6-speed manual.
Can't complain.
Really can't. I'll include special links down in the description below so you can check out Jacob's YouTube channel and his Instagram. Be sure to go give him a follow and subscribe to him. He has some awesome point of view reviews. But that's it for us today. I'll see you in the next video. Happy motoring.